This week on Hooligan Nation, the grunge album no KISS fans saw coming, and most still haven't given a chance. So we brought in a special guest who loves this album. Is it Carnival of Souls or is it Carnival of Seattle? Stay tuned to find out, because you got
nothing to lose. Well, I've never been to Seattle.
Heard it rains a lot there. Heard the Space Needle's kind of interesting.
You wanted the best? Well, they retired. So you got two dudes in a garage.
Talking KISS. Welcome back to Hooligan Nation, a KISS-Centric podcast. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Rocco.
Yes, you are. Don't ever forget, you are him.
I just got to look in the mirror.
And this week, we're joined by a KISS genius. Brant Meredith from the In My Head podcast and the Critical KISS podcast. Brant, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for agreeing to come on and enlighten us with some kind of knowledge that neither one of us probably have.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here. I've been excited about this since you guys told me you wanted me to be on. I've been excited about it. Looking forward to it.
It's great. Somebody's excited about us.
It's always fun to sit down and talk about KISS after a long bullshit day at work. It's always nice to sit down and talk about KISS.
Coming and hanging with the hooligans.
That's right. It's always fun.
Brant, can you give us a short bio about yourself, your podcast, and where your KISS fandom starts in your journey?
Sure. So I've been a KISS fan since shortly after Elvis died in 1977. Became a KISS fan about 2 weeks after Elvis passed away. First album I ever owned was Destroyer. 2 weeks after that, Alive 2 came out. And I bought it, or my mom bought it for me. And that solidified my KISS fandom. And I was your typical, 8, 9, 10-year-old KISS fan during that time. I had everything, had all the merch, had everything that if you look it up on eBay, I had it. The KISS trash can, the pencils, the notebooks, the posters, the puzzles, everything. A lot of the stuff you see behind me, the dolls, the jackets, the albums, I had it all. And still have a lot of it. Don't have as much as I did back then, but I still have a lot of it. So I've been a KISS fan ever since. I had some lulls in my KISS fandom in the mid 80s and early 90s when KISS was not making exactly the music that I wanted to hear, and kind of got romanced away by bands like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Rat, Metallica, Slayer, all those types of bands. And then the 90s hit. And I got obsessed with bands like Alice in Chains, Typo Negative, which I'm still a huge Typo Negative fan. But I've been a KISS fan ever since. Started my podcast, the In My Head podcast. I started it 7 years ago. This past February. February is my 7-year anniversary. And I have, between lives and videos, I have over 500 videos. Closing in on 4,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And I get the name of my channel from this album. There's a track on here called In My Head, and that's exactly where the name of my show came from, was from that album. This is one of my favorite albums in the catalog. I'm looking forward to talking about it. And I also have a little project going on, a side project, when I'm not doing In My Head, and having guests on my show and being guests on other people's shows, like I am right now. I also have a project going on called Critical KISS. It's critical with a K. And we just basically look at the KISS albums and talk about what is critical about them, what's not critical about them. And we criticize them a little bit. We kind of get a little in the weeds on them and get a little hard on them. But we just looking at them under a microscope in a way that we've not really seen anybody do in the past. And so far, we've done the first 3 albums, the live album, the first Alive album, and we've done Destroyer. And coming up in the month of April, we'll be doing Rock and Roll Over, which I'm really looking forward to, because Rock and Roll Over is one of my favorite 70s Kiss albums.
It's a good album.
So yeah, so that's basically me. You can find me on in YouTube, Twitter, Instagram under In My Head.
Congratulations on
Yes.
7 years.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're rolling on 6 months, and I feel like I'm aging in dog years in some ways. What was your first Kiss show?
My first Kiss show was in 1979, Dynasty Tour. It was early on in the tour. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina. I wasn't very far into the tour, maybe 4 or 5 dates. And I had saw videos on TV of Gene doing the blood and spitting up blood and doing fire. We saw it on different news things, but that was the first tour that he flew. And I remember I was on the floor. It was general admission back then, and I was on the floor with my aunt and my mother and my sister, who took us to the show. And when Gene came out and took off and just flew straight up into the rafters and sang, it blew my mind. I mean, to me, he literally flew. He was like Superman to me. So, but yeah, so that was my first show, and then I've seen Kiss quite a bit. I saw them on that show. I saw them on the Creatures tour, and pretty much every tour after that, except for I didn't see them on the Crazy Nights tour. And I didn't see them on a lot of their tours once they got Eric and Tommy in the band. Kind of once the reunion tour and the farewell tour was over, I did not see Kiss again for 20 years until 4 shows away from the end of the road tour. I saw them in Illinois and Chicago with several other podcasters. We got together and met in Chicago and saw Kiss on one of the final end of the road shows.
Oh, that's cool.
News. Got any news?
Yes, actually, I just recently looked into it. It's off of Loudwire. Lindsey Buckingham has reunited with Mick Fleetwood in the studio for the first time since Fleetwood Mac fired him in 2018.
Oh boy, Stevie's gonna be pissed. Oh, Stevie's gonna have something to say about that. Anything else, or that it? That all you got on that?
There's more. If you go into Loudwire, there's a lot more that gives you more details about what they're actually working on and stuff. But I found it interesting because Lindsey Buckingham's a guitarist that I like a lot, so I was pretty pleased about that.
Dude, Mick Fleetwood's got to be 355 years old.
356.
He looks like Skeletor at this point. And he's going to make music?
He looked old back then. He's
What
one
else?
of those people that looked old when he was in his 20s.
What else are you going to do? Yeah.
I don't know. Spend your money?
Well, okay.
I mean, do nothing? I'm not sure. I got a little update for all our watchers and listeners out there that may not know this. The Off the Soundboard Asylum box, package, whatever they're calling it, that they're selling for $100 is allegedly sold out. For all of those people that said they wanted a CD, I will put the website up here somewhere. You can buy the CD as an import from CD Japan. I think it's going to end up being about $50 with shipping, probably pretty much everywhere in this country. So it's out there for you. If you're interested in it, you can get it in a CD format. You just have to get it as an import from Japan. So at least they did that. I'm still betting that sooner or later it'll get released as a CD in this country because we'll buy it. That's why. Music we're listening to. What you got?
Music I'm listening to, I'm going way back. And there's a little bit of a KISS connection here. There's a guy, Richie Rano, that was in a band called Stars. A lot of KISS fans will know about him. And he used to run the KISS conventions in Jersey. And I became friendly with him through a place that I do music. I do open mics. And so I've been diving into some of his stuff that he did on the band called Stars. And so far I've listened to She's Just a Fallen Angel, Detroit Girls, Tear It Down. I like all three of those songs. The guy's a really cool guy. And yeah, so that's the music I've been listening to.
Brant, you got anything?
Oh man, I've been all over the place lately just because of all the different podcasts I've been doing and that not only on my channel but on other people's channels. Of course, I've been listening to Carnival of Souls. I've given it quite heavy rotation, quite a few spins leading up to this episode. I just finished an episode up for my channel that goes live on Saturday. It's the KISS Greatest Hits Volume 1 from the debut album to Dynasty from 74 to 79, not including any compilations, solos, or live albums. Me and my co-host in that video, Carla, we picked 20 songs each to build what we felt like is the 20 songs, kind of, you could either look at it as if you were making a mixtape or if you were just building a greatest hits album. What I did on mine was I kind of like, if I was making a KISS CD to give to a friend and I wanted him to have what I felt like was the 20th most, representative of that era. And we're doing that. We're also doing another volume for the 80s and another volume for the 90s. So and I've been listening to Guns, one of my favorite albums of all time. And I'll sometimes just go down this rabbit hole on it. I'll just get like laser focused on it. Is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, their first album.
The killer album.
I have it on CD in my car right now. I've been listening to it going back and forward to work. I've got it. The vinyl is over there on above my turntable where I was listening to it the other day while I was up here in my room, just kind of straightening up. And so that album, I remember when that album came out when I was 18 years old. And I remember that album it became my obsession. I still think it's one of the best albums of all time.
I agree with you. One of the best rock albums of all time.
And so I just if I hear a song on Sirius or on Spotify or something, if I hear any song off of it, that other than Sweet Child of Mine, Sweet Child of Mine is one of those songs it's so played out to me, in my opinion. But if I hear, like, Sirius sometimes will play like a deep track like My Michelle or Mr. Brownstone or something. And if they do, it's like my mind immediately like, you must listen to Appetite for Destruction about 20 times. So, and it just takes me back to being 18 years old, cruising around in my Trans Am with the T-tops out.
Not a bad song on that record.
That's a good album.
It's probably the closest thing, if not perfect, to being perfect of
Isn't
any
that
record.
Weren't we talking the one week? Like,
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
As an example, how many rock albums don't have a stinker on the album? And that was like the album that we were talking about. Like, that sets the tone for that kind of conversation.
I mean, I consider myself hard on music. If I don't like it, I don't like it. You get 15 seconds. I'm not going to grow into most songs. If I know within 15 seconds if I like it or not, and I think that's where the conversation was. I don't know that I could, like we were talking about doing a top 10 of the best albums. I don't know if I can
complete though, with no stinkers.
Yeah, I don't know that I could find 10 of anybody's records that I can say I like all the songs on the record.
The one thing I love about Appetite too is, if you remember the Impact, like, it came out at a time when it came across as being super original sounding. There was no band putting out an album like that had that distinct sound to it.
And let's
Yeah.
be serious, they brought balls back
Mhm.
because
Mm.
at the time it was all hair metal.
The hair metal had gotten
Power ballads.
the
Yeah.
hair metal had gotten to the point where it was almost a parody of itself. And the record company was not only signing all these hair metal bands, but they were actually manufacturing them and just taking people and putting them together and slapping makeup and hair on them and having a producer help them write mediocre songs. And even to some point, some of the popular bands that had like studio musicians playing their instruments and playing their solos. And I'm talking about you, Warrant. and you know, and even though, like I said, I like Warrant and I like a lot of those bands and stuff like that, Poison, and I remember having the first Poison album when I was a senior in high school. But yeah, Guns N' Roses, they broke that mold.
when that Welcome to the Jungle video came out, it was a game changer.
Mhm.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
well said.
It almost was a completely different genre of music at the
Mhm.
time because everything was hair metal.
Mhm.
And
Everything had keyboards in it. Everybody was wearing a ton of makeup. Everybody had bright, flashy, tight clothes on. And then here comes these guys looking like they were homeless and they brought attitude. I mean, it's really a game changer record. My music we're listening to is all right, hold on to your seats, folks. I got a new one. Badlands.
Mm.
I found it extremely hard to find. I was searching it out. I'm listening to it on YouTube. I thought it was good stuff. I mean, anything with Jakey Lee on it, he's one of my favorites, and he's all over their music. And Eric Singer is epic, like we all know Eric Singer is.
Mhm.
So if you've never heard Badlands, check it out. Dreams in the Dark
Yes.
is a very good song. You can also find the music video on YouTube and check it out and see what you think. It's Eric Singer and Jakey Lee together, and I was pleasantly surprised with it, to tell you the truth, because I don't think I had ever really listened to it. That is our music we're listening to, and you know what that means, right?
Time for the deep dive.
Brant doesn't know what that means, but I know what it means, and you know what it means. Hey, let me ask you a question.
What do you got?
Do you YouTube?
I'm always on YouTube.
When you YouTube, how do you support the YouTubers that you like?
If I find something I dig, I subscribe to it and I hit like right away.
That's a great idea. I'm sure the creators appreciate your support.
I would think so.
You think maybe now's a good time to ask everyone in the audience to support us?
Absolutely.
To everyone in the audience, please subscribe to our little channel. And while you're there, hit the like button.
We're enjoying what we're doing and we want to continue to grow the hooligan community.
We appreciate all your support.
Absolutely.
Let's get in to Carnival of Souls.
Should I give you the poll? Do it.
Thank you.
People.
Carnival of Souls was released October 28th, 1997. It was recorded at the Music Grinder in Hollywood, California. It's 60 minutes and 11 seconds long. It was released by Mercury Records. Produced by Toby Wright, Gene Simmons, and Paul Stanley. For anybody wondering who the hell Toby Wright is, he's a music producer that produced Alice in Chains, Biohazard, Fear Factory, Jerry Cantrell, Korn, Ozzy Osbourne,
Good company there.
Primus, Seven Dust, Slayer, among others. But it does appear as though he leans towards the grungy side of things.
That dude gets around.
And his co-producers, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, who should never, in my opinion, be left without supervision, as it usually doesn't turn out very well for the record or them. Of course, unless you have been on a deserted island until yesterday, you know this was the throwaway album. They did release a single, Jungle. There were no music videos. It was not promoted. It was just pretty much, well, we have this here. We got to put it out. It would be interesting to me to see if things didn't go like that, if this would have been a more popular CD. As far as the cover art, I'll put it up here. It looks like a Polaroid picture, with some graphics on it, to tell you the truth. I don't know who did the cover art.
I still like when they have the band on the cover though.
Yeah, this is going a little too far, at least for me, though. I mean, to me, it just showed they had no interest. Paul and Gene had no interest in. They had moved on. They were going back in makeup. They were going to go back to big arena sellouts. They could have cared less. It's a shame. But with that being said, now it's time for the songs. So hit it, Curly.
All right. So the first song is Hate. Gene does the vocals. Scott Van Zandt does writing with him and Bruce. Scott Van Zandt is an American guitarist and composer. What I got, it's got radio disturbance and static to start the song, distorted high-pitched tone into heavy-sounding riff. Gene's vocals are dark and really cool. I like it a lot. It's going to be a steady theme for me is some of the songs could be tightened up and a little bit shorter. But overall, I definitely, this is a song I like a lot.
Brant?
I love Hate. I think that it is, well, first, let me back up. I'm a big fan of Toby Wright. I love some of the producing he's done, some of the artists you mentioned. Hands down, my favorite producer, a band that Toby produced, was Alice in Chains, and Jerry Cantrell, who's the guitarist and singer
I love Alice in Chains.
of Alice in Chains. And this almost sounds musically, not really so much vocally, but musically, this album sounds like a Toby Wright, Alice in Chains, 90s metal, early 90s metal type album. And I know a lot of people hate it, but I love it. Hate, I think, is the perfect way to start. This is the direction that Gene wanted to go in on this album. And so I think that's why it's an opening track. I'm not going to talk too much about Jungle because we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think that Jungle was a bad, although a lot of people like it and it did really well. When it got released as a single, a lot of people like that. But I think I think a different song should have been released as a single, lead off single, maybe Hate. Hate reminds me a lot of the lead off track off Revenge. Unholy. And to me, I said in my reviews, Hate is almost like Unholy Part 2. Gene always usually has that theme of being demonic or hateful or darkness or things like that. Or Rain. I think that they could have done Rain as a release also. And but I think Hate is just about the right length. And I think Bruce and Eric Singer, we'll talk more about it as I go, but I think Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer are who made this album. And I think that even though this was Gene's idea, this album as a whole was Gene's idea, I think it was like Bruce's swan song. I think this was his baby that he poured. And if you've ever watched Bruce on his Instagram, on his social media, and when he plays out with a band, he plays a lot of songs off this album. He absolutely adores this album like it's one of his children, especially certain songs on it. So I think Hate is a great song, great way to start the album.
I think, well, first off, your Alice in Chains thing, I think it's been said that Gene was listening to a lot of Alice in Chains at the time, mm-hmm. and was trying to go in that direction. And I also think that Gene and Paul were preoccupied with Reunion, and I think Bruce probably took over, and that's why it's his child, because he probably had more involvement in this record than any record before. But I love Hate. I've said this before.
Is that
Kiss.
not wait? Is that an oxymoron?
I love Hate.
I'm a moron, so you might as well have oxymoron.
I had to. Somebody had to say it.
Every time I say I love Hate, I always think about that. Y'all remember that band from the 90s called Love Hate? They
Yeah.
had that song Blackout in the Red Room, and I love them too. Jizzy Pearl. That was Love Hate was an awesome band. That's a sidebar though.
I think Kiss is the kings of the album openers.
You took a while. I was waiting for that to be your first thing you said.
And this is no different. For me, this is the best track off this album. It's a killer opening track. No matter what song it is, I love the Evil Demon Gene. And I don't label this grunge. This song, I don't label it grunge. Personally, it's just Kiss to me.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce and Eric are active, let's say. And it comes through in this song. I think it's a great song. I think it would have been a better single choice. I think it would have been even better if they would have made a video for it. We could be talking about Carnival of Souls in the same breath as we talk about Creatures of the Night if the marketing and promotion was done differently, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'll back you up on that. After listening to it, I definitely feel like there was some lost opportunity there, maybe because of them checking out.
I mean, I just wonder how many people it just got lost in the shuffle. And, like I listened to it when it first came out and I gave it about 15, 30 seconds of a chance. And I went, oh, this is Kiss doing grunge. And I moved on because we were in the Reunion era at the time.
Well,
when I went back, it's a little grungy for me. There's songs that are not my favorite songs, but as a whole record, I think it's a very good record.
You know what it says to me too, what Brent said earlier about Bruce and Eric. It shows their talent because it looks like they had to carry the load for the whole, for the album.
Yeah,
and they scored, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that there was a lot less control by Gene and Paul because they were preoccupied, and that might have been something to do moving forward if they would have stayed with Bruce and Eric Singer, and they would have stayed. I'm not one to say I wish they stayed unmasked, but if they had, maybe more involvement from Bruce and Eric might have been a good thing.
Yeah. This is the era of the band that I've always said that I've said this many times on my channel, that the Revenge album and the Carnival of Souls album, I've loved both. By the time Revenge came back around, I'd already checked back in with the band. I loved Revenge back then. When Carnival of Souls came out, I loved it back then too. I've loved it ever since. And I was excited and yet sad at the same time I was very excited to see the Reunion and to see Ace and Peter and to go to those shows. I went to several of those shows and recapture that feeling of being 7, 8 years old, seeing the band that I grew up listening to, admiring so much. But when the reunion was over, when the farewell was over, I was really disappointed to hear that Kiss was going to continue with Tommy and Eric in the band with the makeup on. To that point, to me, they almost became like a 50% of a tribute band. And what I would have liked to seen them happen was them take the makeup off, get Eric and Bruce back in the band and pick up where they left off because I think that, probably no disrespect to Eric or Eric Carr or any other guitarist that's been in the band since Ace and Peter, I think that unmasked wise, that this version of the band was like the most legit most legit band. And I think that they were going in a really good direction. They'd showed just in 2 albums what they could do with Revenge and Carnival of Souls. I would have liked to see them pick back up on this rather than continue to be like I said, a tribute or a nostalgia band for 20 years. But you had talked about that Bruce carried the weight on this. While you were talking, I looked it up. So if you look on Wikipedia, Bruce Kulick played all guitars on tracks. Okay, he played all guitars on Rain. He played all. I'm just going to tell you, it's the ones he played all guitars on. He played all guitars on Rain, Jungle, Never Goes Away, In the Mirror, In My Head, Seduction of the Innocent, and I Confess. He played all guitars, bass included, on all of those songs. So there's some songs, the only music is him and Eric, and Gene and Paul coming in and doing their vocals. Because
on top of that, there's 12 songs on this album, and he's got 9 co-writes. You can't find another KISS album with Bruce having, I would guess, more than 2 co-writes. And I'm not sure there's any with 2 co-writes, 9. So yeah, this is very much his album.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. All right,
which brings us to song number 2, Rain. Paul does the vocals. He writes it with Bruce. Curtis Cuomo, who is a Grammy-nominated songwriter, musician, producer. The riff, drum open leading riff to Paul's vocal. I really dig Paul's voice. I dig the tone of this song. Nice twist vocally from Paul. It's like a different than I'm used to with him. Very cool solo. I really like the overall vibe of the tone. This is just my thing. I sometimes I feel like a song is the length hits a certain point, and I'm like, wrap it with a bow. And sometimes some of the songs on this, and I've had my take on a lot of their songs. Sometimes they go a little too long just for me, but I have arrows going up, and this is definitely an arrow up song for me. I really like it. All right, so yeah, that's my take on Rain is I think it's a really good song. A little too long, but I think the overall take on this is I really like Paul's voice. Like, I love his high pitch when he goes there, but I also like when he kind of does a little bit different, and he definitely a different vibe and feel, and I like it.
I'm the same with you on that. I like when Paul sings in that lower register, and you hear in this song when he's in that little pre-chorus where he's saying, "Open your eyes, it's just a fantasy," and he holds that way out. He could still wail. Yeah. I like some of the production values that they did on this too. It's like it's got they use a lot of reverse tracking on this album, not only on drums but on guitars, and you hear Paul's voice fading in like a reverse fade in just before he starts singing. And cool. yeah, and there's some songs, to me, I know when a song is really good to me is I don't even have to be listening to the song. I can just be thinking about the song or talking about the song, and I start getting goosebumps. That's when I know that a song's good to me. And just thinking about the different parts that he says in here, like that, the way he says that, twisting like a hurricane, and then and Bruce and Eric are just so good. It's like they're in each other's thoughts when it comes to some of the syncopation that they have, where
said, yeah,
where Eric will do, or Bruce will do a do like a little walk down chunky riff, and Eric's just right there with him on the drums, just following on the toms.
They can predict each other's movements.
Yeah, they're locked in, and that's how I knew that they spent a lot of time in the studio together. They're just locked in on this track and on this whole album. But yeah, Rain to me is just as good as Hate, and I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad. Well, if you're going to come out with a really strong Gene track to open the album, you need a really strong Paul track to follow that up, and they did that, in my opinion.
it was a good start, 1-2 punch. In
Mhm.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you got, Ant?
Yeah, I like the song. I think it's a good song. For me, it's a little dark and muddy sounding, but hey, I guess that's the grunge.
Yeah.
And I think Paul's vocals are great in it. Again, like what Brant said, I like that medium register voice of Paul's. Like I think, by the time Carnival of Souls comes out, I'm tired of the high pitched screaming that we got on Asylum and Crazy Nights.
He
And it's
swung in the rafters on those two
yeah,
albums.
and it's probably what helped destroy his voice was even attempting to sing like that when he doesn't really need to do it.
I read an article somewhere, saw something on read it somewhere, saw it somewhere, where he was actually doing that on purpose. He was trying to push his vocal limits to see how high he could get, and it got annoying and almost unbearable for me on those two albums.
Well, I'm gonna have to bleep myself out, but you know what they say, right? And find out.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty
yeah,
sure that's what happened to him.
yeah.
So
All right, that brings us to number 3 song, Master and Slave. Paul does the vocals. Bruce Curtis Cuomo does the writing. I don't have my notes for Curtis Como, but my take on the song is awesome riff at the intro, then killer bass riff, great bridge after the chorus. Overall, that like the bridge, I really like a lot. I wanted to hear it again, and they changed it towards the end. I wanted to hear that bridge a second time and then finish up. But it's another one of those songs like the up arrows up. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, Master and Slave. It's you go back to a Paul track, and I like that it's upbeat. I mean, not really any album, any song on this album is upbeat in a happy upbeat kind of way, but it's a faster paced song. It's got some weird time changes. I know that was probably really challenging for Gene and Paul because that was a staple of especially Alice in Chains type music, weird time changes, weird time signatures. Master and Slave definitely has that, especially during that kind of that little bridge where it's doing everything breaks down and it's just that dun na 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 na. And
yeah, I wanted more of that. You know what I mean? It left me wanting more of it. And I like the title too, though. I like the title of it to go with the theme of the album.
Paul has a great scream in this where he's wake up and start to I love that.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of a tone in this. He's like, life is never what it seems. It's like he's pulled way off of it. And I kind of like the Rain tone better than the Master and Slave tone. But I like that he still decided to try to experiment and do something different and not just try to do what he did in Rain again. But he kind of pulls back in the verses and then really kicks in the chorus. So I still like it. I don't like Master and Slave quite as much as I like Hate and Rain, but it's still one that I definitely don't skip it. It's not a skip for me. But it's still good.
What you got, Ant?
well, it sounds like I'm the one that likes this album the least, and this is not a skip song to me either. I actually like I never thought I would ever say this. I didn't, but I like the experimentation that they did. I like those verses in the song where he did something different. I I like a lot of things about this album, and a lot of the things that I like is because it was different and it wasn't shitty different.
Well, you brought up a point too about his controlling nature. It actually may have benefited him not being so controlling on this.
Yeah, but you know what the other half of that is? He hates this record.
Mhm.
And you know, I would argue, I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about, but I would argue that he hates the record probably because he had very little control.
It's true.
And
You
then
know, because
it was Gene's idea. And
right.
That's a double whammy. Yeah.
and he's been said singing, you know, we're millionaires, we got all this money, and we're rock and roll stars, and we can have any woman we want. We're singing all these fucking depressing songs, and so it really wasn't, and it's and he's telling the truth. It's really not a Paul Stanley vibe.
Right.
This album isn't, but Revenge was Gene's idea too. And if you listen to Revenge, which I think is just as good an album as this one, maybe if it's just you know as good, but on this album, it at least sounds like Gene and Paul are trying to make the same album. Paul is matching Gene's energy. The big problem that I have with Revenge, and I know we're not talking about Revenge, but the big problem that I have with Revenge, although I love it, it sounds like Gene and Paul are making two different albums. You got Paul singing, you got Gene singing all these songs about Unholy and all these songs that he's singing, Paralyzed, and Paul's singing about strippers and taking it off and all that. I mean, he's singing about all these other. It's like they're singing. It's a very unbalanced album when you listen to what Gene's songs all fall into this category, and Paul's songs all fall into this category. But at least on this album, it's more of a united front, even though Paul hated what he was doing the whole time, probably.
Even though Paul may have hated it, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? They don't get credit for the musicianship. And even though, like I said, Eric Singer and Bruce carry it, but they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. And vocally, for me, this is a good this is a Paul Stanley that we had never seen before. Like, he had done dark songs, but not to this level. Like, we're all used to Gene, you know, like Brant said, I'm the Demon, Hate, Unholy, God of Thunder. The list goes on. So it wasn't, you know, it came down to the grungy tone made the Gene songs different. For Paul, this was uncharted territory completely, and it's unfortunate that he hates it because I think he killed it. I think for the most part, he did a great, and look, there's songs coming up that kind of make me giggle a little bit, but for the most part, like, he killed it into something that was completely new for him, and they showed their flexibility. And that's what, whether you like it or hate it, and opinions vary, but that's what they did in Dynasty. That's what they did for Unmasked. Even if you hate it, you got to give them a little credit for having balls to go there. Same thing with The Elder, right? Like, you get 10 KISS fans in a room, you'll find one guy that says The Elder's great. But give them a little credit for going down that path. And yes, you know, everybody, it's, you know, common opinion, oh, the 80s, they were chasing this and they were chasing that. It's absolutely true. But they kind of successfully chased those Bon Jovi sounds, those hair metal sounds. Like, give them, I'm not a big fan of all of them, but Jesus, give them some credit from going from being the hard rock heavy metal band to, hey, let's make a pop record.
You did it again.
Gotta give them some credit for it.
You did it again.
Of course I did.
No, you mentioned The Elder. When am I getting the movie? I told you I want the movie. It makes the album better.
Actually, Ken Nordy made the album better, but
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing. Brent doesn't know our take on that. I actually like the Elder. There was a lot of songs that, again, if it was tightened up, it was meant to be a movie. If I saw visual, like I'm a Pink Floyd fan, to me, and he's tired of hearing me say this, if there was visuals behind it, I think it would have been even that much more enjoyable. Childhood at End, Gene does the vocals, Tommy Bruthere and Bruce Kulick do the writing with him. Really cool beginning, guitar drum combo. I love the chorus. It's one of my favorite choruses ever that Kiss ever did. I absolutely I love the tone of the chorus a lot. It stays with you when you think of this. When you read the title, you hear the tone of the chorus instantly.
well, that's a big statement.
Awesome blend, bridge, melodic guitar solo pairing. Overall song vibe is really cool. Again, I love Gene's voice in this, like how it kind of like rolls down and up with that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. My opinion, Childhood's End is it's Gene, being a Gene song, it's a Gene song that this album needed. This album didn't need to be however many Gene songs there are. They all didn't need to be like Hate. You need some variety. And I think that Gene, I think as far as this song goes, I like it, and I like the idea of it. I like how at the very end of the song, Gene recycles some lyrics. He recycles God of Thunder lyrics. He says, "You got something about you. You got something I need." At the very end of it, and I like whenever they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
They brought a bunch of kids in to sing on it, which they did on Destroyer. So it's kind of like a Destroyer throwback. And but yeah, I like it. It's kind of in the level of how much I like it. It's kind of along the same level as Master and Slave. It's not quite up with Hate and Rain. It's probably on the level of Master and Slave for me.
It's just that chorus itself, like the song itself. I don't know if I'm rating it like the best song in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That feel of that chorus just does something to me.
Mm-hmm.
What you got?
My take on this is real simple. I don't know the technical wording of it, but tune it up a little different production, and it's a Kiss song. I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. That's the best I can do for it.
It's one of the weirdest melodies on the album.
And I like the uniqueness
Yeah.
of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the entire album is it's all unique, and that's probably the biggest best thing about it is you turn it on and you go, I've never heard Kiss sound like this.
That's what I mean.
Never-
They pulled it off as far as what they were going.
Right. Well, I mean, you don't have to love it, but you should respect the fact that they went there. And it was at least semi-successful going there.
Yeah, and I'm a big defender of this album because like you said, there's not a lot of love for it in the community, even from old time fans and new fans alike. And I'll defend this album, and in the middle of that, people will say, "I'll say, well, what do you not like about it?" And they'll be like, "I just don't think it sounds like Kiss." I'm like, that's what's good about it, is it doesn't sound like Kiss. Neither did Dynasty sound like Kiss. Neither back in the 70s, to people who had heard the first three Kiss albums, Destroyer didn't sound like Kiss. So Kiss has been reinventing them. People acted like that whenever they went to go make a Dynasty or make Unmasked or The Elder, that Kiss was reinventing themselves. And when they tried to reinvent themselves and did reinvent themselves all the way back in 75 with Destroyer. So, I mean,
That's a mic drop, dude. That's a well.
just saying, Kiss has been reinventing themselves. They constantly change costume. Their makeup changed a little over time. Kiss constantly reinvented themselves.
If you ask me, Kiss doesn't have a sound. There is no sound. The sound was constantly evolving. Look, I didn't always like the evolution of the sound. When you go and we kill this over and over again, but when you go from Creatures of the Night to Lick It Up to Animalize, and then boom, now all of a sudden you want to be Bon Jovi. I didn't think it was needed. It's like, well, Brent, you brought this up earlier. You go from Revenge. I don't care how much it sold. It doesn't matter to me. It's a good album to me.
Mhm.
I like Carnival of Souls. It took me 20 years, but I like Carnival of Souls, but it still makes me ask, why did we go there? Like, you had a very good sound and a very good record in Revenge. Why did you have to go there?
Mhm.
Well, I got a question to pose to both of you. I love AC/DC, right? But AC/DC pretty much has the same sound on every album.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it. Would you rather Kiss do that?
No, no, but I guess it's ingrained in us as Kiss fans. And look, I'm as guilty as anyone else. All we do is complain. We complain about everything. We complain about stage shows, costumes, set lists, musical styles. We
Merch.
complain. We merch. We complain about everything. So I just don't understand when you create that sound and you go, wow, that's good. Like, why don't you stay with it? I mean, they went Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up, and Animalize. And look, nothing reached the level of Creatures of the Night, but Lick It Up was right there. And Animalize, to a little bit lesser degree, you have to, you have to include the fact that Gene's trying to be a movie star and it's becoming the Paul Stanley show. But they had a sound, and then they had to leave that sound. In one respect, it's great because you never get bored. Look, there's only so much. I love AC/DC, but there's only so much I can listen to before I go, didn't I just listen to this song? Oh, they just changed the words, and they just changed a couple things around, and it's the same song pretty much.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can ever say that about Kiss. So it's a great positive, but it's also a little bit of a negative of, you know, you get Revenge and you go, oh shit, the demon's back. We're playing hard rock and heavy metal again. Oh, this is great. What do you mean they made a grunge record? Why?
Okay, so the next song is "I Will Be There." Paul does the vocals. Bruce Kulick and Curtis Cuomo do the writing with him. Same exact kind of vibe for me. I don't remember the song currently right now. I don't remember the way it sounds, but what I put in my notes, same exact kind of vibe as Childhood's End. I love the acoustic feel of the song. I like the vocal harmonics or vocal harmonies, and I love the acoustic blend with his favorite orchestra.
Mhm.
Is that what's wrong with this song to me? Is that what it is?
It doesn't have an orchestra. It has a string. It has a string section to it.
It's got that basic feel to it though.
Yeah, and they actually, to their credit, even though they were making this album on a budget, they actually used string. They used actual strings and didn't synth it out. This is what we were saying, that there needs to be a Gene song that switched gears. There needs to be a Paul song that switched gears. I Will Be There is Paul's song that he wrote this song about his son Evan. I think I Will Be There. I think I've heard him say that I Will Be There is his favorite song off this album because it's the one that he felt the most truth in, because he did write it about his son. I freaking love this song. A lot of people don't like this song. It's
I
like
like it.
Kiss
I like
can't
it.
slow down and people not try to take a piss all over them. And I love I Will Be There. I love that melody, that and there's, I love it. I love
It's a good tune.
I think it's great. I love the song.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting into the middle of the album, and I have arrows for ones I was going to because like I said, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, and I was really surprised because I got a lot of arrows on most of these songs. But what do you think about about "I Will Be There"?
I think that I have to ask Brent. Brent, no matter what I say, You promise she'll come back on? First off, the only thing that should have strings are bikinis. Second thing is, who the hell has a grunge ballad? Only Kiss. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just a little over the top for me, and I
Yeah.
can't get past the grunge ballad part.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the next song, Jungle. Paul does the vocals, Bruce Kulick and Curtis Como do the writing with him. The beginning notes that I have for this song is I got pretty specific on this one. At 3:36, there was a wasted transition, way too long, should be shorter and sweeter, in my opinion. The positives, I got a really cool bass to start the tune into a really sweet guitar riff, good cool bass and drums to start the song. A very interesting vocal for Paul. I'm digging it. And I love the overall rhythm backdrop guitar throughout.
This song is basically all Bruce. Paul sings. He doesn't play a string of a guitar in it. The bass and all guitars, rhythm guitars, lead guitar is all Bruce. I agree with you. I would like Jungle if it was about 3 minutes and 49 seconds rather than 6 minutes and 49 seconds. I love Jungle. I love the way Paul screams in it. And I love that the jungle comes alive. I love that little change in there. And I love the same vocal presence that he does where he's like, here I go, kind of singing. He's kind of singing soft, pulled back, and then the guitar hits and he comes in, da 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 da. And then he starts that screaming, whoa, in the jungle.
It's just a little too long. Good production, really good production, but
it's too long.
Too long.
Entirely too long. Way too long.
So what about you, Ant? You in the Jungle?
Yeah, great song, great vocals, great drums, great bass. I wish the guitars were a little less grunge and a little more Kiss. And that's not meant to take anything away from Bruce, but I do love the song. I think the song's great. And for me, is over 6 minutes a little long? If it was a 15-minute song, it would be too long for me. If it's over 6 minutes and it's a good song, I don't even notice.
A lot of people in the KISS community love Jungle. Like this, that is their song off this album is Hate, Rain, Master Slave, Jungle. That's as far as they go into everything else.
All right. Well, that brings us to the number 7 song, In My Head. Gene does the vocals, Scott Van Zandt, Jamie St. James from Black and Blue and Warrant, lead vocalist and songwriter. To me, I wrote on here that this, to me, is the biggest Alice in Chains grunge song feel to me on the album. Really cool. Gene's voice works so good in the alternative vein to me. I love the aha into cool solo that like lead into that. But yeah, to me, this is an Alice in Chains song.
Yeah, definitely. And Gene actually plays bass on this, so the bass that you hear on that. This is actually one of my favorite songs. It's not my favorite song on the album, but it's one of my favorite songs, and it is what I named my channel after. I love Gene when he makes songs like this. When he's singing, it's like he's got gravel. I'm obnoxious and no one's home. I mean, he's just,
his voice is meant for that kind.
Like he's just gargled with rocks, and I like if he does so many overdubs, you hear him screaming in the background, and he's got all these weird chords that he's making with his voice in the harmony. But I've heard criticism about this particular track. Is this one of those tracks that sounds like it wasn't totally completed? It's like it's missing something, but I like it. I think it's a great way to start the second. If you're on vinyl, this actually starts the second side.
What say you, cuz, in your head?
I'm probably going to blow both your minds and probably going to be wrong, it sounds like. But opening sounds like Metallica to me.
I think
I'm,
so.
I'm not a big fan. It's just too trippy to me. That's the best I can explain it.
All right, so that brings us to the number 8 song. This is the one song that I really don't like. It Never Goes Away. Paul does the vocals. Bruce Kulick and Cuomo do the writing with him. I'm not digging it. It's very messy to me. There's no flow to it. This is the one song that kind of stands out as a song that I would probably skip.
I'm kind of in the same boat on this song, kind of rolling along with you. I feel like this song is, you have your songs that's like Hey and Rain and 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 then you drop down to songs that's like Childhood's Ends, I Will Be There, Master Slave, In My Head. And then you drop down to this song is almost, it's too slow to me. It's like they were trying to go Alice in Chains and throw in some Soundgarden,
Yeah,
and
they were
it
putting stuff in the stew, and they were missing ingredients. And they put the wrong stuff in. Yeah, it's just messy.
it's quite long. It's 5 minutes and 42 seconds, and although I think that Paul's vocal performance on it is outstanding, um, especially when he pulls out a little bit of he sounds like he's gone back to the 80s towards the end when he's going, yeah, it's nothing I can do, and he's like kind of getting up there a little bit. But when he says it never goes away and he holds it out for, seems like eternity, and then he puts a yeah on the end of it, it's just like, dude, how are you doing that? How are you
He is such a talented vocalist. I know there's nothing left really, but I mean, and what do you think? Like, I mean, to me, the one like another big takeaway from this is just how cool he's able to make his voice on this album overall. But yeah, it definitely stands out on that song. Again, it's not a song that I'd be really into, but it still does show some quality in that on the song.
Yeah, it's a big drop for me, but I don't skip it. But it's a big drop.
Paul's vocal performance, I think, throughout this record is great. Like I said earlier, it's something different for him. It was kind of refreshing. The song,
I know that look.
is just not good. I guess it's just too much grunge for me. Too slow, too dark, too muddy.
All right, so the next song, I'm going to put the title before I give you my description as schizophrenic. Seduction of the Innocent. Gene does the vocals. Scott Van Zandt. It's all over the place. I absolutely love this song and hate it. It's a very cool guitar, shuffle sounding drum and bass intro. I like that. I like the backdrop vibe guitar, and overall the drum and bass blend. The other thing that I put on this, and I got to listen to it again, the transitions were very weird. The timing of the transitions were weird. And then Bruce comes out of nowhere with a killer solo. It's probably my favorite solo he has on the album.
Yeah. Yeah. This song as soon as this song starts with the and the little bongos and the Cajun that I've seen the studio footage of Eric playing, I feel like I'm on a camel riding across the desert. And I love Gene's voice in it, the way he sings it. I actually like this better than Never Goes Away. It's not a sedative like Never Goes Away is. But I like it, and I like the solo in it. It's got its bright moments where it shines. I still kind of classify it down on the level of It Never Goes Away. I still feel like we're in, like Ant said, where it's still in a little bit of a valley, maybe slipping downhill a little more, or on a plateau, maybe. But I don't skip this song.
No, I definitely don't skip it. Like I said, there's parts of it I really love, and then there's parts I hate. So
yeah, and you do get that, and I like that shuffle feel that it has to it as well. The percussion really carries this song a lot, because a lot of the notes are just very through the choruses or through the verses and the turns in between the choruses and stuff. It's definitely a very long notes on the guitar, not a whole lot of rhythm, little bass rhythm in the background kind of carrying it a little bit. But yeah, it's and it's a little long too. It's 5 minutes and 16 seconds. So it's not quite as long as Never Goes Away, but it's still got some length to it.
No. Very curious to hear your take on this one, Ant. What do you got?
You know what my favorite part of this song is?
Uh-oh.
When it's over.
When it's over. Nope, just not my thing.
Didn't
I
mean to
don't
steal
think
your
there's-
thunder, but I've heard that so many times. My favorite, you know, my favorite part of this song is the end.
And look, I'm not a hater. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just
Yeah.
don't like it.
Yeah,
But I think the guitars are great.
yeah,
It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
It's another skip for me.
yeah.
All right. And that will bring us to the 10th song. I Confess. Gene does the vocals. Ken Tamplin does the writing with him. Ken Tamplin is an American vocal coach, former Christian rock musician.
Oh boy.
Beatles, feeling Beatles in the beginning verses. I like the chorus, some good
I
points,
love you.
but way too long.
Love you. Thank you. You may go ahead.
To me, it screams Beatles to me at the
Oh
beginning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially in the beginning, this song to me, and I have very weird visuals about songs. This song's to me, it sounds like when this song starts, I feel like I'm in a dark room and Gene's a shadow on the other side of the room, and he starts singing this song to me, or like we're setting in the confessional, and he's the demon priest on the other side of the little thing, you know.
So
It's
he's dressed like he was in Exposed, where he has the four girls' heads up there.
Yeah, yeah. And but I like this song. I like how it starts off just so bland and just ominous, and then when it kicks into that, you confess you can't help yourself, and then the solo.
The chorus is good. I like the chorus.
The solo is nuts on I Confess. I love it. But yeah, definitely just the way he sings, it's almost he's channeling. You know, Gene wanted to be in the Beatles, you know.
Yes, he did.
and he channels Beatles so much, way more than Paul does. And you just listen to Gene's solo album, he channels the Beatles all over it.
Absolutely.
Boy, I have a hard time listening to Gene's solo album.
But I like I Confess. I think we're, in my opinion, this is my opinion, we've finished with the lull and we're starting to head back up the hill.
Can you confess, Ant? What do you got?
Can I skip this one?
Yep,
So my
you-
take
yep.
on it is a little different than you two. And the only reason why it is this sounds like the Beatles meet Alice in Chains, and it
Mhm.
didn't go well.
I can see that.
That's kind of, I mean, generally speaking, when Gene goes for the Beatles sound, it's usually my cue to check out. Not always, but it usually is. It annoys me. I'm not a Beatles fan. We've killed this over and over again. That's probably part of it. And then when you try to mix the Beatles with Alice in Chains, it's just not good to me. So you're almost right. I'm almost with you. If you include I Confess in the lull, we're about to go back up.
Right.
I just can't. I
think I Confess we've well, you agree. I think with I Confess we've pitched out of the lull, and we're not up here yet, but we're starting that way. We're at least starting an upward trajectory.
You know what? I'll tell you, I think I Confess is better than Seduction of the Innocent. So in that case, you would be right. And you know what? I got to give him credit. Who the hell combines the Beatles with Alice in Chains?
Yeah.
So I got to give him credit for trying.
Heim does. He does.
All right. So that brings us into In the Mirror. Paul does the vocals, Bruce Kulick and Cuomo does the writing with him. This one, to me, Bruce and Eric Singer tell them to hold to the beer. The drums and the guitars are awesome in this. Cool beginning riff lead into a drum beat, enjoying the overall groove. Some really cool drum solos and short guitar solos. And then Bruce says, step aside and goes nuts.
Yeah, In the Mirror is all Bruce. Bruce plays every guitar on it, including the bass. It's all Bruce and Eric with Paul singing the vocals. I love In the Mirror. In the Mirror, in my opinion,
Good
y'all want my hot take about In the Mirror?
Yeah.
If you can take In the Mirror off of Carnival of Souls, put it on Revenge. It would fit. It would fit. It would
It's
fit.
not the only song on this record that would fit, but yes.
Yeah. It would fit on. It's not In the Mirror is not. It's like Paul was like, okay, I'm going to write a song. It's not going to be a grunge song. I'm just going to write a Paul song in the environment, in the fishbowl environment of this project that we're doing. I'm going to write a song that I want to write, and he wrote In the Mirror and performed it, because to me it's not really a grunge song. You could stick it over on Revenge and it would be right at home. It would flow. I've actually tested it before. I've actually listened to Revenge songs on Spotify and then jumped over to In the Mirror, listened to it, and then went back to Revenge, and I'm like, it worked. You could do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good tune.
Crazy. It's crazy good. That Eric and Bruce, they're beasts on this track.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%.
Love the guitar sound and the vocals. I think it's a good song. For me, brighten up the drums a little, and we would be really on to something.
Yeah.
But I do like the song. And I do agree, it's not a grunge song.
Yeah.
It's a KISS song. And there's a couple of them.
The thing that I think that misses, yes, definitely a KISS song. The thing that the drum misses on this album as entirety, as a production value, is there is no reverb or compression or any type of effects on the drums. It's almost like the drums was recorded and mixed dry.
All right. So the next song, what I wrote on here is kind of funny to me right now because I don't remember writing it. I have that there's a bench in the studio while Bruce is writing this song. I mean, singing this song and writing it with Gene. And on the bench is Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend, because to me, this so much sounds like a Who song. I enjoy the guitar solo, but 6 minutes is way too long also.
I Walk Alone from Bruce. Bruce, they just before they kicked him out of the band, they finally gave him a vocal track. And I tell you what, Bruce is kind of like Jerry Cantrell. He doesn't have a lead singer's voice, but yet he can still sing lead on a song and sound good. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I don't know if we're going to do a top 5 list or whatever, but I'll just go ahead and tell you that I Walk Alone is my favorite song on this whole album. As a matter of fact, when I listen to this album streaming, I listen to I Walk Alone first, and then go back to Hate. Listen to the album all the way through, so I can listen to I Walk Alone. Like Ant said earlier, when you enjoy a song and you really enjoy a song, this song could have been 9 minutes long, and I think I would have still loved it. I love how it starts off quiet. It eventually builds. His vocals start off quiet. He eventually builds. This is one of the few songs, believe it or not, that Bruce does not play every instrument on. As a matter of fact, track number 12 is not listed as a song that Bruce plays all the guitars on or plays the bass on. So this would have been a song that all 4 members of the band would have been involved in making. And so, and whenever they come out of the solo and he's singing that where he says, and I know deep inside of me, and Gene's singing along with him, singing the high harmony on that. I think that's just one of the best parts on the album.
Do you see any of the Who influence on it?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I don't know you, you don't know me. I mean, just the whole, I can't see. I love the.
Yeah, I like the song, but it to me, like, it was a little bit.
But long, I love that. And I got myself to lean on, got both my feet on the ground. The way he says stuff like that. The drumming and the guitar in this is Eric Singer goes the hell off on this song. All those triplets on that he does on it. That leading into that riff, that there's an old school Kiss riff in here. It almost sounds like War Machine, that it's before, and then Eric does those triplets, and that's when he goes into that I know deep inside of me. When they hit that note right there, I'm like, you better watch out, because it's like a quick brief
Dude, I'm
throwback
alone.
to War Machine.
Mm.
And I love when you catch those little moments, and I know that most of them are probably unintentional, but you don't really know if they're unintentional or not, because I know Gene did help write this song with Bruce, but I love this song. If I hated every song on this album except for I Walk Alone, I would want this album to have been made. What do you think about I Walk Alone?
I love the song. Probably my favorite song on the record. If it isn't this one, it's Hate. If it isn't Hate, it's this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I love it more for what it represents to me. They finally unhandcuffed Bruce.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's for sure.
And you know, look, this happens all the time to us. We retread comments. He's not a lead singer, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's great lyrics, great music, love the guitars, and just love what the song represents. And it's a damn shame that they finally gave him a song as they pushed him out the door. Because it's the one thing that if there wasn't a reunion, where would we have gone from here? Would we have gone back to the old way of doing things where the drummer gets a song and the lead guitar player gets a song? Like that was my favorite Kiss formula. Once they went to Unplugged and Eric sang Nothing to Lose, boy, that should have opened the door for,
I agree.
holy shit, we're underutilizing this guy. And I think the same thing of I Walk Alone. At some point, Paul and Gene got to look at each other in the studio and go, damn it, we missed. We could have done this 3-4 albums ago.
Oh, yeah.
They probably didn't do that because then they lose a song off the record.
I would have liked to have known the story behind I Walk Alone when it was written, like what originated the song, because it makes me wonder, just listening to the subject matter of the song. It's like maybe this was Bruce sat down and penned this after he saw that the writing was on the wall. Because it basically, the lyrics, he says, I know deep inside of me, there's a place that's not plain to see. I belong where no one else can be. And I'm searching myself again, and I'm here all alone. And when I close my eyes and no one else can see, I walk alone. Can't you see? I don't belong. Let me be. Everything I've dreamed of is being me. And I've got myself to lean on. I've got both my feet on the ground. And it's just almost like that's one of those songs where it's like, I know that I've got my back if nobody else has my back. That's one of the lyrical content, like you said, and sometimes it's not the song itself or what it sounds like or how it's performed. Sometimes it's the lyrical content and the meaning behind the meaning of the song. He don't get enough credit. I mean, he gets overshadowed by Ace in a lot of ways. But I think honestly to me, Ace is my favorite guitarist. He always will be. And then it's Bruce second. I don't have a whole lot of respect.
I'm reversed with that. I respect Ace a lot too, but
I don't have a whole lot of respect for Tommy. I think Tommy's a hired gun, and he was hired to basically mimic and play a part.
You're oh no, you don't understand how much he's trolled Tommy in all the episodes we've done.
You know, I don't have a lot of and
you just
he is my spirit animal.
And the only reason that I have the respect for Eric that I do is because Eric was in Kiss before he put on the makeup.
You sound exactly like him. That's exactly what
you ever see that meme of it's a drawing of a guy and he's got like dark hair and he's smiling, and then the next picture he's showing like a face. here that if I made that meme, it would be me. Eric Singer, blonde hair, no makeup. I'd be that dude smiling. Eric Singer in the Catman makeup, same guy, but they should not put Catman makeup on anybody else but Peter. And
So-
and one of the biggest sacrilege. Not only did they put makeup on them, but they let them sing Peter, or not, they didn't they made them sing Peter and Ace songs. Tommy singing Shock Me is sacrilegious. Lightning bolt should have came down out of the sky and electrocuted the guy.
Well, we have no live stage show. We have no set list because it's the forgotten album. So,
Yeah, sadly.
Brant, you got anything you want to add to this before we go?
I love Carnival of Souls. It is in my top 10 favorite Kiss albums. I love this, and I probably like 80% of the songs that's on it. And there are two songs on it that is in my probably top 30 Kiss songs. So I mean, I love this album. I'm glad that it got released. Thank goodness for the leak, because if it hadn't been for the leak, now here's something, and we've had debate on this before. Had this album not ever got leaked, would we ever heard these tracks in some shape or form? And yes, they would have got released on a box set, or they would have got released at some point in time. We would have heard these songs had it not got leaked, and they were forced to release it in 97. Between 97 and now, we would have heard these songs by now in some way, shape, or form, especially with the modern internet. But yeah, I like this album. And
I've heard an interview with Bruce Kulick that where this subject has been brought up, and he has said more than once that he asked Paul that question right after they were told what was happening, and Paul promised him it was going to be released.
To me, my final summary of it is that if they had a lane where they were actually pushing this and marketed it the right way, especially at that time, I think this album would have been big, and they would have had a bigger album. Yeah,
I can definitely agree with that, and I kind of feel a little bit like a shithead because I never really gave it a chance for probably the first 10 or 15 years that it was out. And even when I did give it a chance, I didn't give it the chance that I should have given it.
Well, how much of that was because you were being steered towards the reunion, though?
Well, I was definitely all
You know
in.
what I mean?
I mean, look, I remember when Carnival of Souls came out, and I have it on CD, and I still have it. And it was a Kiss album, so regardless of whether I'm going to like it or not, I bought it anyway. I put it on, and I remember I liked Hate, and I liked I Walk Alone, and I can remember liking I Walk Alone. Simply, it could be like Bruce could have sounded like me singing, and I would have liked I Walk Alone because it was finally letting Bruce out of a box that I pictured Paul putting Bruce in. Like you can see when they kind of started to let Bruce out of the box guitar wise. And then you got to get to this album before you even contemplate putting him on lead vocals. To me,
And would you say that probably out of all the people that they've had in the band, the one who proved himself early on to be the most trustworthy, who was somebody who they probably should have trusted to do more, was Bruce?
Most Kiss fans love the original four. They're the top four. And then there's a big drop, and then you start slotting people in. Now, look, no disrespect at all, but I said this a couple episodes ago. Eric Carr died. He died 30 years ago at 41 years old, his legend grows every year. And part of the reason why his legend grows, and it's nothing personal to Eric Carr, is he's not around to say anything stupid. He's not around to say anything KISS negative. So his legend grows.
Well,
Vinny, the longer Vinny's around, his legend shrinks.
Yeah.
Bruce, I mean, look, I love the original four, but I kind of think Bruce should be at the top
For me, it's
for
Gene
the
then Bruce.
original four, because there is no longer lasting, better soldier in the KISS Army than Bruce Kulick was and continues to be to this day. He's arguably, in my opinion, the second best guitarist that played in KISS. But I could understand anybody who put him right up there with Ace. He never has anything bad to say. He's always pro KISS. He was the monkey in the middle of two monkeys.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm going to bleep myself out.
And
Two
not many
monkeys
people could have
that
done what
were-
he. Not many people could have done what he did.
two monkeys that were fucking the same football at the time. And he had to kind of play the adult. And he talks about this in interviews where Gene comes in and says, "What do you think?" And then Paul comes in and says, "What do you think?" And Gene doesn't like it, but Paul likes it. He doesn't know where to go. You imagine you're a paid employee and you have two certified egomaniacs that are OCD control freaks when they want to be. And you got Paul saying this is my band. You got Gene thinking it's his band. You got to deal with all of this, and then you produce the grade A product that Bruce always produced. Fucking guy deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of KISS, and it is goddamn disgusting that they didn't do it. And somebody needs to fix it. Eric Carr goes with him, but you know what? You
I agree.
cannot do that. You cannot put KISS in and completely erase an entire era that the guy kept alive. Gene and Paul should have went to the Hall of Fame and said, if Bruce Kulick doesn't go in, none of us show up. Ace should have done it. Peter should have done it. Doc McGee should have been in on it. Like, what? At which point do you stand up for what's right? Thank you all and good night. That is all. Anybody else got anything else?
Yeah, Vinnie Vincent saved KISS.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. That was wonderful.
Oh, look, the streetlights are on. My mom's calling me.
Oh, poor Vinny.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Brant, thank
Thank
you
you,
very
guys.
much.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great night. We'll look forward to next time.
This
Yeah.
was,
Just let me know. Let me know when y'all want to sit down and deep dive about anything else. I'll be glad to do it. Thanks, guys.
Well, as I always say, we got to do this somewhere. So here goes. If you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms, please leave us a review. And if you just found us, check out our past episodes. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel you like this episode, please consider hitting the like button and leaving us a comment. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes, and check out these episodes right here. As always, if you made it this far, you should thank us because we had a great guest tonight, and Brant was a great guest, and I think this is going to be a great video.
Yeah, I agree.
But thank you for supporting us, and don't ever forget, hate is what I am. No, I walk alone. Well,
Yeah, with nobody else.
until he's around, I walk alone. No, just kidding. If it's too loud, you're too old. Peace out, Hooligan Nation.